Kalashnikov, which is not very common at this level of chess.
So it's the improved version of the Sveshnikov, which Carlsen has started playing regularly from the World Championship match against Caruana onwards. And now he's getting this move e5 on move 4, one move too early compared to the Sveshnikov. So that's the Kalashnikov. The name says it all. You really want to kill your opponent, isn't that?
It's a very aggressive opening. It has some strategical problems. I'm actually surprised that Magnus is playing it, perhaps because it's a rapid and blitz, perhaps because he wants to win over and over again. He doesn't want to go into these drawish scenarios with some Spanishes. But it's not supposed to be that sound, last time I checked.
Unfortunately, I never really checked because I don't really play e4 with white and I don't play that with black. It has the reputation of being slightly unsound. But there are some active ideas, and one of the main ideas is that you delay the development of this knight in order to, well, now he's done it, but in order to try and exchange the bishops, bishop e7 to g5. Well, my arrows are not going right, but you usually want to trade those bishops, and that would be actually a good deal if you can, positionally, if you can exchange those bishops. But, well, as you could see, Nepomniachtchi played g3, so perhaps he intended something against bishop g5 early on, and we're getting now this very...
But bishop g5 early on was not possible because you just take it and the d6 pawn was hanging.
Yeah, that's true. So
yeah, bishop g5, but against bishop d3, which is another common move, then bishop g5 is one of the main lines. Yeah,
yeah, that actually explains g3 making a semi-waiting move. And now after bishop g2, one knight f6, bishop g2, he has his normal Sveshnikov pawn structure,
yes,
but it's also a typical Naidov pawn structure, d6 and e5 here with a6. It's just the white knights are a bit strange. I mean, not usually placed as in the Naidorf. And b5, well,
playing in the spirit of Sveshnikov.
Of course, a little threat, and you're going to provoke knight d5 at some point. I mean, he would like to see that. The question is how to react after knight d5.
And that's what he's played, Yannick. He's gone for knight d5 and immediately Magnus trades.
It's actually interesting. This g3, as far as I know, is not really mainline. It's not mainstream theory from white. And well, he might still be somehow in his prep.
I've just got a notice from our producer that in fact Magnus played a novelty there with knight d5.
Which could still be part of his prep.
Yeah, I mean, he really blitzed it out and played it really quick. And like you were saying, that these two really know each other. They work together. They understand each other's style, and it's rapid. So Magnus trying to stay in a zone which he really likes, but also kind of mixing it up with the move order.
It's true that for Magnus, changing from e4, e5, his main answer to e4 was e5, has been e5 for many years, be it then some sort of Spanish or the Berlin defense. But he's gone into this e5 setups. And changing to the Sicilian Sveshnikov, a completely other type of pawn structure, another type of game, because the dynamic is completely different. Actually, I have the feeling that this is kind of a refreshing change for him and might be a factor explaining his beautiful results recently. Not just concretely in the Sicilian, but generally. I mean, he gets this new feel, his new wave of energy. And yeah, well, I mean, the results speak for themselves. It's a plausible explanation to what's happening to Magnus recently. I mean, not that we don't expect the world champion to dominate, but the way he does it is just amazing.
It's been definitely working very well for him. Ever since he started playing the Sveshnikov, the kind of results he's getting, like you said, just been phenomenal.
It's true, yeah.
And with black, he's been getting very good positions with the initiative and playing on to often crush his opponents.
And the funny thing is that you would actually expect Carlsen to be, or to show his ideas during the World Championship match against Caruana, but there he actually struggled in the Sveshnikov.
Oh, we tried.
Held. yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
we didn't do so badly.
Can you give us a few insider info?
Actually, it was a little bit surprising that some of the games that he won after the World Championship match, specifically against Navarra in that Sveshnikov, we had already analyzed that was bad for white. And I was very surprised that the work hadn't been done by other grandmasters that were ready to play the Sveshnikov against him months later than when he revealed when it was being played. I remember during the World Championship, we had already analyzed that variation was just no good. And it's been clear that his preparation has been very good, although it's not, it's not bulletproof. There are some variations in which we were able to show some initiative for white, and unfortunately unable to break through from Fabiano Caruana, but his handling of the position seems to get better every time he plays it.
Yeah.
It's like every time he plays it, he understands it better and better. And his game against Karyakin in Shamkir was just an
amazing.
absolute beauty.
So he's like Alpha Zero. He plays it a few times and he improves upon his own. It's just that he cannot play 40 million games in these days, but he still, he improves and he gets a better feeling of these pawn structures, the positions, the ideas, game after game, and it's amazing.
In fact, in a recent interview with Chess24, he spoke about this, that he had seen the games, but he believes that Alpha Zero style cannot be copied or emulated because it's just too strong, but it's something that, yes, it's something that, could inspire.
Inspire,
yes.
Indeed. That's probably the word, because you cannot really copy, but to be inspired by some ideas, by something, it's certainly what's
Definitely
going
been
on
playing
here.
inspired chess.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And even that first round against Wesley So, it was really interesting because it seems he was a bit struggling and he gave up that pawn. And nevertheless, he kept things under control and eventually took over after, let's say, small enough.
D4.
You can see.
And take a look at what's going on
she's
here.
Smiling for some reason.
The two of them are having a good time on the board. And Nepo doesn't look...
She just looks strange.
Is he just looking at us? Nepo doesn't look very happy about what's going on the board.
Is Carlsen trying to refrain a smile as well, or? I wasn't sure.
It's amazing to see all these players who are so expressive. There's, we have Hikaru, we've got Nepo. Their face expressions just say so much about what's going on in their mind and the position.
And you could see Magnus raising his eyebrows, and we don't really know what it means, but I don't know, why is Nepo
He's
smiling
just laughing.
and laughing like this? Maybe he's just, maybe Maurice will tell us more about this.
Maurice, what's going on? What's making Nepo smile so much?
E7, he hasn't found Queen H5, in fact. So, actually, Queen H5, B3, that would be a real
mess.
A real mess, and something we would really appreciate to see. But Bishop D7, and it's funny that the position has changed, but Nepomniachtchi's smile hasn't. He still had that smile on his face earlier, and it's very interesting to try and understand what's so funny for him.
I think he's just finding the position really amusing. It's a position full of game, actually. Black's just played F4 without much thought here.
Absolutely forced, otherwise your position
Where
is
do you go?
crumbling.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So this allows the knight to go back. It says Bishop D2 as the most obvious move in this position. You could consider taking on A4 and taking on B5, although that does look a little bit strange, at least in my point of view.
Bishop D2 indeed, yeah. Yeah, taking on A4, takes it on E3, takes on B5. This is really...
Take on A1?
Yeah.
It looks like a little much, like your
And
king
then this
is not going to like this.
Very, very dodgy. But perhaps not completely clear either. The knight on C6 is there to stay, and the pawn can be very fast as well.
Guys, let's take a quick look at other games that perhaps not as against this king on G1, or will this pawn just reach promotion?
Well, personally, Alejandro, I definitely, if I were white, from this point of view, a bit outside, not delving deeper, but I would really prefer to play B6 and give up F2 and try to create and make a new queen after. Whether it works or not, that's another question. But from this natural point of view, I really want to push that pawn. I love those pawns. Like from the King's Indian type of positions or others, like here. These pawns are, worth gold, basically.
It's an all-in type of position. Nepo saying that pawn is worth gold, that I'm going to promote it, you can't do anything about it. Here you go, Bishop G5, the world champion, finding the move and putting the pressure on Nepo. Will he play F3, or will he sit down, calculate it out, and say, you know what, B6, take my pawn, I don't care, I'm quitting my own.
But I have to to ask you, what is happening in that line after b6? Let's say you take on f2 and king h1. What is black's move next? Because it's very clear what I'm doing. I'm going b7 and b8.
All right, I'm going to give you a crazy idea. How about we put this in the position after pawn takes f2 check, b6,
b6.
ef, king h1 seems forced. I think king f1 might be a little bit too much. Let's go e4.
You also have some pawns. That's what
I
I'm
also have
saying.
pawns. Okay, let's go crazier. b7, and I don't care. e3,
Are you going to sacrifice your queen?
b8,
Yeah, he's going to sacrifice.
and I'm going to go e2.
Ah.
We're having some. There you go.
E2.
What's going on? You're up a queen. A full queen.
I love
This
this.
looks like
This
La
is amazing.
Bourdonnais, right?
Like-
Just a pawn missing on the second, but it's definitely really nice.
That would be amazing. Look at this pawns e2 and f2. I'm not really sure you can actually stop them.
I'll take black.
It seems like black
wanna take
should
black.
somehow
Looks
win
like-
this. Surprised the engine doesn't just give black a winning advantage. Seems like there must be some way of
Some trick to,
some trick
bail
to
out.
survive. Yeah.
It's
it
not
might not
giving-
even be that difficult. You might just trade
Yeah.
trade the queens on e8 and give up your queen for e2.
But we're already in the type of beauty price
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely.
here. So e4, yeah. But maybe after b7, e3, we have to try and blockade it
But
somehow.
You mean with queen
Queen
e2?
e2, but you can still try and play bishop g4 and push anyway. Who cares? Who cares about
Yeah, I
a
was giving a
bishop
queen. I mean, like,
if
you
you
can
can-
definitely give a bishop.
to get a queen, right?
What a wild game.
So what else can you do in this position?
Is he still smiling, by the way?
I don't think that there's much to smile about here. It's full focus mode here for Jan Nepomniachtchi. Crazy position. He has a big decision. It's a
And
big
he's
decision.
ahead on the clock. I mean,
He has the time to do it. He has.
some minutes.
So b7, e3.
E3, right? That's beautiful.
And there's not really any other choices. F3 or B6. That's going to be the one of those moves we're going to be seeing both extremely sharp, but in different ways.
So can... I mean, I'm trying to find a move for white here.
Well, yeah. Beside queening or blockading, don't really see it.
Yeah.
And knight d4 is not a move. Bishop f1 is not.
Alejandro,
a move.
is the engine giving it better for black here?
It's giving a slight advantage, which is not what you would be expecting from such a position. But let's go down that variation that we went through. That's exactly what the computer wanted to play and that you had. I'll just put the moves
there.
for you.
So let's say you take on e8,
You take on E8,
and you take with the rook.
and you take with the rook. And apparently, even giving up on E2 is really not that bad.
Yeah, because you...
What do you mean? Queen takes e2?
Queen e2, yes. Because you... I don't think there's another move, actually.
Queen E2, rook E2, bishop F1.
But it does look like...
It looks super scary.
It looks really scary.
And B6 was
he's-
played, so
he's
we're
done it.
going
Gone
for
for
something
it.
like this.
All right.
He's gone for it.
His firework is on.
So with bishop f1, can I just go... what's going on after rook e1? You have to go rook a8 check.
Yeah.
King f7. King g2. Yeah, king g2 saves the day because
Yeah,
bishop h3, king
takes.
h3, rook f1, and king g2.
But it saves. I'm not sure what it
maybe-
really saves because you're gonna be worse anyway.
Because you go rook d1.
I'm going for d5.
Yes.
And I'm better. I'm not sure it's winning, but I'm better. with
Yeah,
black.
this is like another extra pawn, and bishop versus knight is also very good for black.
But smiling, frowning, whatever. You see?
Yes. He's so expressive when he's playing. It's actually quite delightful to watch him play. And also the time is very interesting. We normally see Magnus up on the clock, but here we have Nepo with a 3-minute advantage.
But it's true when you look at Magnus, he's really cool. He remains calm. I mean, even though there's storm on the board, he's just really cool.
And he has options. This is one of them. Bishop C8 was played, one of the top engine recommendations.
Wow.
Makes a lot of sense. You want to stop this pawn from immediately promoting. This gives you a few extra tempi for your own pawns. Of course, there's so many things to consider in this position. But Bishop C8 seems to be a good move. Rook f1, already maybe even a forced move here for Nepomniachtchi, because what else can you do? If the bishop reaches b7 and I start...
You've got the dark squared bishop, but it's not saying anything. It's not making the position any stronger. It can't break through the blockade on the light squares. So what to do? And it looks as though really up a pawn, but not enough of an advantage for Magnus to win this game.
Well, we're certainly going
to pull a Nostradamus today. I think it's going to be wrong, because a huge blunder by Jan Nepomniachtchi here after the move queen e2. We had seen this idea, e4 was played, and the only move, not very intuitive by the way, queen e4, allowing bishop a6, but the computers are saying you have this resource, important resource of trading off the queens, and you can't really force the pawn through. This gives you just about enough compensation for the exchange, but not much more than that. h4 was played instead, spooking the bishop, but hold on, that's not actually a move. If you play e3, which was played in the game, and you take on g5, then okay, congratulations, you won a piece. But the move rook e8 would be extremely strong with the idea of just pushing out this queen and playing e2. The logical one, bishop a6, perhaps not as good, because after bishop a6, this intermediate move g6, notice I cannot take on a6, of course, because queen h5 comes with basically checkmate, but this intermediate move keeps white just barely alive. So let's see how this game makes progress. Will Magnus find this supercomputer move rook e8 or the natural bishop a6, which is just quite not enough?
Bishop a6 is what I was thinking about when we had this position. It's also interesting that after g6, queen g6, you have knight e7 check.
Very important.
And actually, that could be, well, let's call it perhaps mutual blunders. I mean, he's making a good move, but not for the good reason, because he sees bishop a6, and now, of course, he
Bishop a6
hasn't.
is so tempting, Yannick.
But he hasn't moved yet, so he's probably seen.
So he's
the problem.
considering it. If he's not moving yet, it's because he has an alternative, and everything else just loses.
So
you're down a piece.
And
So-
he's down to 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's also a very important factor. I mean, Nepomniachtchi is known to play so fast, and here he's making clearly on the clock. He's got a clear advantage on the clock. But if he finds rook e8,
Rook
which
e8 is an
he probably
incredible
hasn't,
move.
That would be just super impressive if he plays rook e8.
but
It is
he hasn't
incredible.
foreseen it. That's for sure. I
You
mean,
think that he...
I think he gave up the piece with the idea to play bishop a6. Otherwise, he would have moved immediately.
I think he did
But
it
now
with...
he's seen it.
I think he saw both ideas and decided he was going to think at some point, knowing that bishop a6 was fully good. It's so hard to play rook e8 in this moment because it doesn't seem like there's something clear. And 2 minutes already being spent
Yeah.
by Magnus Carlsen in this position. It seems like he's reaching for the bishop. Let's see if I'm
Well,
correct.
if he manages to feel that rook e8,
Rook
Rook
e8
e8.
on the board. What a player.
Unbelievable.
Incredible.
maybe
Unbelievable.
He was forced by himself, and he's
Neto is smiling
back
again.
on his face. The little smile is back on his face, but let's see how long he's going to smile.
It's such an impressive move because he's just playing it slow. He actually doesn't have like an immediate threat that is just crushing. Bishop g4 is strong, but there are moves that kind of deal with that, I would imagine.
But also bishop a6 is a renewed threat because now after g6 you just take queen g6.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I mean, the problem for white on the H file remains. It's not a problem you solve by just one move. I mean, it's there, and at the moment it would even be a mate, like queen h5. If he could play queen h5, would be mate, mate in 2. So it still remains, and it's not easy to find a good square for the bishop, g2. I mean, bishop f3 just doesn't really feel right in a way, but it might be actually a decent move, because if you can get bishop f3 and let's try it, bishop f3 and king g2, then it would be actually good. But the engine doesn't seem to like that move.
Well, bishop a6 probably just
Bishop
squashes you.
a6, yeah, and then you take on f3 anyway.
Yeah.
So that fails immediately. So he has to find something, but he's
I mean, finding rook e8 is just so unbelievable. He's just
a
playing the
monster.
best chess ever.
Just so precise. And at the moment, the Indians want to play knight b4, but that's completely hopeless. I really don't see a defense at the moment here for Jan Nepomniachtchi. He just can't coordinate his pieces. The knight is just a little bit too far away. He would like to play knight d4 immediately,
So knight d4, bishop a6.
but it's just, yeah, it just doesn't work. So the computers want to go
Let's
knight
have that on the
b4.
board, Yannick.
yeah, knight d4, bishop a6.
It's just game over.
I mean, this queen h5 threat is just killing.
It's real.
So if you go queen g4, just e2.
Yeah, you don't even take the rook.
Oh, this is incredible.
Beautiful.
He had
The
something
strength
very
of
similar
pawn.
against Swidler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Where he did
checkmate.
G2.
Mate, yeah. So what
with
to
the
do?
black pieces. It's amazing.
Nina Sveshnikov. Well, it was a Kalashnikov.
So is
I
knight
guess.
b4 is really the only move, knight b4.
I mean, it doesn't really work. Knight b4, bishop g4, I go through the other side, and
you
you just
can
have to
do
start
that.
shedding material.
So bishop g4, yeah, queen g4, e2 again, yeah.
Yeah, and the computers think that bishop g4 is good, but there's actually ways of playing it slow. Think the knight is just offside on b4. Why not just play this position slowly? There's no actual threats from the white side, which is incredible, but it seems hopeless here
The
for
only
Jan.
hope maybe is the clock,
The only thing
for
that I think is
Nepo.
keeping him alive is the clock.
because it's still very sharp and complicated, and it requires precise calculation by Carlsen, which he's capable of doing with very short time, but still
And let's not forget, Yannick, there is no increment.
no increment.
It's a
right?
delay.
It's a delay, true. So we'll see what happens, but this game is so hot. And this rook e8, I maintain my opinion that it's kind of a bit position luck for Magnus, because my assumptions, in view of the time spent on rook e8, is that he hadn't really foreseen that, and he had probably had bishop a6 immediately in mind. But his position is so, I mean, he's the world champion, so things just
Fall into place.
fall into place.
I have to agree with you because he probably had bishop a6 in mind, but at that moment he realized that g6 is coming. And
Yeah.
then when you see that bishop a6 is not working, rook e8 is pretty much your only move to defend the e3 pawn.
True. And so Capablanca was right. The world champion is always the
luckiest.
right, in the end. Well, anyway, an
Okay,
amazing
King
Nepo went
h2
to
was
King
played.
H2.
What are the moves that didn't lose instantly, at least keeps the game going, but it's not enough. It's just not enough in this position. After King h2,
Can black anyways go bishop a6?
I don't think so, because you do have bishop h3 at the end.
No, I want to go e2.
I want to go e2.
Oh, bishop a6 doesn't work at all.
Yeah, I do wonder if you get too many pieces, right? Because if you go e2 and I take on e2
Or
and
you
I go
just take on
b6.
e2 and b7.
Actually, that doesn't work. You just take with the queen. What could
Yeah,
be the
but-
problem here? Maybe you actually don't have a threat also.
But queen takes e2 doesn't really work. Huh?
No. Okay, your threat is e1. What is the solution here?
There is something very
not-
strong.
Which we are not seeing. Well, let's just
Yeah.
ask the engine. All right. This is what we have it for. Let's see. Bishop a6 in this position. Queen takes a6. b7. e1, which is what I was thinking.
Nepo's chance.
So let's update
Is
our
that-
position.
Yeah, I think this is updated. You
Oh, wow.
even so we
How do you stop them?
got rid of
So he went bishop g4.
g4 and e2.
The only move,
Knight d8. Well, that's not the most obvious.
especially with 20 seconds on the clock.
Well, that's Nepo, but Nepo is down to 1 minute, so he's also been spending, and he had to spend a lot of time.
But
in this
what do you
position.
play here? e1 is such a strong threat. And
Yeah.
unlike the other
Then you-
variations where the queen was on a6, b7 is not defended. If you play b7, I'll just take it.
So no real option for Nepo, but he will also have to move fast now.
Also down
He's
to seconds.
Yeah, he's down 40.
So knight d8,
catching
what's
up.
going on? After knight d8, rook d8, queen e2. And
No,
is that,
but knight d8, I have an intermezzo, right? I can just take on f1 with
so
the
check
promote
with,
to a knight.
yes, so ef1.
And then rook d8, I'm up. What am I up? An exchange, and I
Yeah.
have a pawn on f2.
But the pawn on the B
B6,
pawn
but-
is also something worse. Takes f2.
I mean, this
E1.
looks really bad for...
This looks like two queens
This looks,
for.
yeah, this is
my
like too
count,
many
right?
queens for black.
Queen f5. So he's relying on tricks, but
no
knight
threat.
knight
There is no-
e7 is not really a threat because
Yes,
it's.
it can be taken with either of the queens.
Either queens. That really, I mean, one queen is already very strong. That's the most powerful queen, but the most powerful piece. But imagine you have two queens. Yeah.
Down to 20 seconds, and it's basically a queen for two pieces.
Yes.
Yeah, even if the knight was on e6, this is winning. But with the knight on c6, this should be trivial. The knight just isn't coming back to the game in a
Maybe
in
he
a
can
good
try
way.
it now. Knight d4 and go back to e6.
Maybe it's a time, but he has to.
Yeah.
The thing is, you think that a knight is very tricky in blitz? You know what's really tricky in blitz? Two queens.
Two queens.
Very difficult.
And he is threatening to trade one queen. That would be a good deal if you could trade a queen, I guess.
Yeah, he just had to make sure that that didn't lose.
Oh,
This is the thing, you can
fine.
give back so much material. Rook f8 would win one of the queens, but you just give up too much material for it. You can't really play it.
Look at those 3 pieces on the E file.
Queen D, E6. That's not a move you usually get. Queen D to E6.
Yeah, but now
Yeah,
Nepo is
it's-
paralyzed.
Yeah.
Ooh, that seems to be a Hail Mary. Queen G6
Well.
looks good. There you go.
I think Magnus will
Yeah.
wrap this off.
Magnus's clock is not going below 22 seconds.
He has 10 seconds per move. That's not really.
Yeah, it's not.
It's plenty of time.
No, he's in the mode of.
And now,
he just.
quick check, but D5. Problem is that it seems kind of strange, but you can't allow the queens to trade off on F5, because then it becomes trivial.
Yeah. Well, I think.
Yeah, this is going to be over soon. What a game by Magnus.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Just
So-
rookie 8.
Rookie
What a
just-
boss.
Just finding all the accurate moves. And it's not trivial finding moves like this with
course not.
with little time on the clock.
He's making it seem so easy, but when you have 2 queens, it's so easy to blunder one. It really is. It's not a common thing for chess players to have 2 queens, but when you have them, it's so
You're just not used to it.
You're not used to it, but it's so easy to get something attacked twice.
Just not giving any chances
And he's
at
just
all.
giving 0 chances. Oh, barely
2
played that move.
seconds. Yeah.
But I mean, that's not going to help him. I'd be surprised there's not like force made
There
here.
should be
Queen
mate here. It looks
D4.
like there should
Queen
be.
D4, knight takes D4.
Can't you
might
go
not-
Queen E3?
Queen E3, King H1 is still not.
Queen H6.
Queen H6?
Oh, yeah, that's actually checkmate.
G6, the first inaccurate.
Ooh, G6.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's no Queen G7
Yeah,
because I have all these.
Because you got 2 queens on the
Whoa,
board.
Bishop D5, a little trick.
But it seems
Okay,
he
now-
has
But that's
everything
it.
under
That's it. Yeah.
control.
Now it should be over.
Yeah, just Queen E3 is coming next.
All pieces are protecting each other. Yeah,
And that's
like-
it.
That's it.
I still smiles after.
Amazing.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What a game. What a game.